Hi, Dr. Barry here. In this quick video, I want to talk to you about whether your child, your teenager, your 20 something whom you love is already insulin resistant. Why do you care? Why should you care? And what you can do about it. This is a huge problem in the US and Canada and Australia and the UK right now. Obesity and type 2 diabetes in young people is at epidemic levels. It's really dangerous. There's a new study that was recently released that I'm going to tell you about in this video that shows us that an overweight child, an overweight teenager, an overweight 20 something is not just a mirror issue. It's not just a self esteem issue. It's a medical problem, and there's damage being done. So if you know someone who is in a preteen, a teen in their 20s, or you know you have a friend or relative who has a child or a grandchild whom they love and want to protect from the ravages of insulin resistance and the damage that it can cause in their body over the decades, please share this on your Facebook page. Please share this on Twitter. Share it on any of your social media so that you know you can reach the most people to help me help them. Because if I don't reach people and they don't know about this, they'll think that childhood overweight and teenage overweight is just a mirror problem. It's just, it might hurt their self-esteem a little, but it's not really dangerous, right? Well, that's absolutely wrong. And by you sharing this, you can help me reach many more people. Now, let's talk about this. If you go on the internet and you Google old school pictures and old basic training graduation pictures back from the teens and the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, and look at these hundreds of young men and young women, you'll quickly notice that there's something missing. There are no obese people in these pictures. You very seldom will you see someone who's even a little overweight, much less obese. Okay, morbidly obese being defined as a body mass index over 30. There's just no one like that back then. Maybe one person out of 1,000 or one out of 5,000 would technically qualify as what we would call morbidly obese today. Now, if you look at some high school graduation photos from today, you can quickly see that morbid obesity is pretty darn common, and being overweight is almost the rule rather than the exception these days. And so, forever, doctors, pediatricians, family doctors, and parents have thought, well, ideally, I'd rather my child or grandchild not be overweight because, I'm sure it's not great for them. It probably messes with their self-esteem a little bit. They don't like what they see when they look in the mirror, but I don't really think it's a medical problem. I don't think there's any damage being currently done by that. Well, here's the problem with that. There was a new study released recently by the University of Tennessee Health Science Center at Memphis, my alma mater, and they studied veterans who were not diabetic, okay? And they looked at them over several years, and they looked at thousands of vets. And what they found was that these vets were already having kidney damage years before they were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And so this opens up a whole new can of worms. So if you have an overweight preteen or an overweight teen or an overweight 20 something whose waist to height ratio is over zero point 0.5, then no, it's not just a mirror issue. It's not just a self-esteem issue. It's not just a social issue. They're insulin resistant. They're having damage done to their kidneys, to their liver, and to all the tiny arterioles that feed every organ of their body. Now, they're young and healthy right now, so you'll see no evidence of this damage being done because it's microscopic in nature. But as the years go by, this damage is going to keep building up until they're going to be the person who's going to have that heart attack in their 40s or have a stroke in their 50s. And that should not happen ever. No one should have a heart attack in their 40s. That back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, that was unheard of. Okay, but now when there's a McWindy Kings on every corner, we're all dropping dead in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, and that is not the way it should be, and it's not the way it has to be. But the way to prevent that from happening is to start now with someone who's in their teens or in their 20s. Don't wait till they're 40 before you start trying to work on them because so much damage has already been done. And like I said, this study done in Memphis, Tennessee, showed without a doubt that before these vets were ever diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, they already had substantial kidney damage done, permanent kidney damage. And if you're having damage done to your kidneys, you're also having damage done to your liver, to your pancreas, every other organ of your body, the tiny arterioles that feed your toes, your brain, your heart muscle, your kidneys, your penis, all that stuff's getting damaged. And so when these people come up at 30 and 40 years old and they already have neuropathy, everybody's going to act like, I don't know why that happened. Yeah, now you do, okay? And so if you have somebody like this in your life that you love, you got to share this with them. And for parents out there who have been a little hesitant to kind of be kitchen Nazis, right? Like, well, I mean, he eats Lucky Charms, but I give him skim milk, so surely it's not too bad. He's only a few pounds overweight. If your child, if your grandchild, if your brother or sister, if they're overweight, then they're at least some degree insulin resistant and they're having permanent damage done to their arteries, to the end organ damage is what we call it in the medical profession. The tiny arteries that feed their organs are being damaged, and part of that damage you can never take back. Okay, so what are you going to do about this? First of all, if you have a loved one who's overweight like that, I don't care how young, if they're 4, if they're overweight, they need to have a C-peptide, a hemoglobin A1C, and a fasting insulin. And if any of those 3 tests are even 1/10 of a point elevated, then they are insulin resistant and it's time to take action right then. Whether they're 4 or 14 or 24 years old, I don't care. The youth doesn't matter anymore, obviously. Back 50 years ago, no teenager ever had type 2 diabetes. Now, at every large pediatric center like Vanderbilt and UT at Memphis, they actually now have type 2 diabetes clinics at the pediatric clinic because there are so many kids with type 2 diabetes, which is an embarrassment to every doctor in the country. So you need those 3 tests checked. And I'm going to link, I'll put in the show notes below which tests you need and also a link to that study so you can read more about that. And so what do you do if you've got a child who's 4, 14, 24? What do you do? Obviously, you don't want to be a militant. You don't want to be a kitchen police, kitchen Nazi, kitchen bully. But now that we know it's not just about, oh, he might be a few pounds overweight. We know there's permanent damage being done. I think it's time for parents and grandparents to lovingly step it up a notch and just say, no, I'm not going to buy you any more 2-liter Dr. Peppers. No, I'm not going to buy you any more Little Debbie sweet cakes. I'm not going to do that anymore. You're going to eat some fruit. You're going to eat, we're going to use stevia. We're going to make some fat bombs. You're not going to eat that crap anymore. I'm sorry. And the reason is I love you. That's why I'm not going to buy that for you anymore. And so if your 4-year-old has the credit card and buys the groceries, I guess you're powerless. But if you have the money and you drive the car, then it's kind of you that brings the crap home in the first place, right? So I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm just trying to tell you there's damage being done if your little loved one is overweight, okay? And so you really need to take charge of that and make changes today and get these labs checked so that you can know exactly what you're dealing with. Now, if you enjoy this kind of video, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you know someone who might enjoy these videos, tell them to subscribe to my channel, right? And if you really feel like that my videos have improved your life in some little way, there's always my Patreon link down below. You can click there, sign up quickly, and throw a buck or two my way. That gives me more time to make more videos just like this one, okay? This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you guys next time.